Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll chant Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verses 38 till end.
Nahi jnanena sadrusham pavitramiha vidyate tatsvayam yoga samshiddhaha kalenatmani vindati shraddhavan labhate jnanam tatparas samyatendriyaha Jnanam labdhva param shantim achirenadhigacchati Ajñascha shraddadhanascha samshayatma vinashyati Nayam lokosti na paraha na sukham samshayatmanaha Yoga samnyasta karmanam jnana samchinna samshayam atmavantam na karmani nibadhnanti dhananjaya tasmadajnana sambhutam hridstam jnanasitatmanaha Chitvainam samshayam yogam atishtotishtha bharata.
So in this chapter 4, we have studied up to verse number 38. So in 39. In 38 he said, there is no better purifier than knowledge. What knowledge does is, it completely dissolves the notion that I am this individual, and it establishes us in that indivisible reality. So we lose the ego and its manifestations like egocentric desires and egoistic attitude, and we function in the world with awareness, with oneness. So he says, verily there is no purifier here like knowledge. He who is perfected in yoga finds it in the self in time. So first we need to practice karma yoga, bhakti yoga or upasana yoga and qualify for jnanam, and through jnanam we realize the self. And then in 39 he says, he gives 3 disciplines. These are compulsory disciplines to attain the knowledge. So he says they are Shraddha at the intellectual level, and devotion at the mind level, and sense control at the physical level. Now, when we say Shraddha, it is not just mere superficial faith. It is faith plus conviction plus consistency. Apply yourself in what you believe consistently till you make that knowledge your own. Your belief, your own knowledge. You make it your transformation. Till that time you don't give up. That's called Shraddha. So that's why I said Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. It's only the person with Shraddha attains knowledge, because if you just merely believe and don't put in the effort, you won't transform yourself. So therefore he emphasizes on Shraddha. And then he says Tat Paraha and Samyatendriyaha. Indriya Niyamam, meaning self-control. See, when the senses are completely enamored by the world, it draws the mind away. And the mind thus draws the intellect away. And when the intellect is gone, the individual is gone. Agree with me? So, everyone is lost when the senses are getting enamored by the world. Right? There's a beautiful poem called Pineapple and the Bee. In the end, the poet says, "The sight our foolish heart inflames, we long for pineapples in frames." There's a vendor selling pineapple. He beautifully cuts them and arranges them in triple row, covers it up with glass case. So a bee gets enamored by seeing them, seeing the pineapple cut in and arranged in beautiful, way. It gets enamored by the pineapple and wants to enter, but the glass is there in between. So like that, he says, we are enamored by the world. And he says, the sight our foolish heart inflames, we long for pineapples in frames. In the sense, our mind starts developing desires, and the intellect get completely dragged away by the mind. And with this, our whole personality is lost. We are lost. So there is no individual. We are lost. So he says, therefore, first you have to practice sense control. Indriya should be under your control. Which means what? You are behind the senses. You are not completely taken away, overpowered by the senses. You are there behind the senses, controlling them and directing them. Sense control is not sense denial. You understand? Sense control means lending purpose to the contact. So you are contacting with total awareness. You are the boss and not the senses. So it's not that you unmindfully deny yourself in the name of sense control. That is not sense control. That is sense denial. Sense denial will bring the opposite result. Instead of bringing you peace, it will only increase your desire and it's only going to agitate you more. Are you with me? It's only going to make you not achieve anything in the world. Also, it is not going to help you to evolve spiritually. So, spirituality never talks about sense denial. Spirituality talks about sense control, which means mindful contact. And then, when that individuality is not lost, that individual only can put in effort. Somebody who is lost, what effort he can put? First of all, he himself is not under his control. He is under the control of the senses, influenced by the senses, influenced by the sense objects, the world. When you don't have any control over yourself, how you can direct yourself towards something higher? Therefore, he says first sense control. Then, tat paraha. Tat paraha means para, that as supreme. That is considered to be the highest priority. That's what tat paraga means. You understand? Today, for us, it is one of the things. See, when you go to the supermarket, you have a very big list of things that you want to buy, right? And when you went there, they said for some reason, we are going to close in about 10 minutes, right? So those who have already entered, right, please quickly get whatever you want and come to the counter. In about 10 minutes, please come. You didn't know this. You entered now and they've told in 10 minutes you have to come to the counter, but you have a very big list. It's going to take minimum 40 minutes maybe. What will you do? In the list, there are things that are of utmost importance for you, isn't it? In that priority, you will quickly go and get those things and go to the counter. Yes or no? So like that, we keep saying, I believe in these things, but that's not my priority. Chalta hai. We take life for granted, right? Maybe I'll enjoy till when I'm 60, 70. Then I will do. Then I will work for it. So really speaking, You do not have Shraddha till you set that as your highest priority. And then what happens is a complete paradigm shift happens in your life based on that priority, isn't it? Then everything that you will do or not do will be in alignment with that goal. That is called tatpara. That is called the mind surrendering to that goal. That's called devotion. If you do not have that devotion, you cannot succeed. In fact, one of the most important things to succeed in any field is to have that complete devotion, that single pointedness. So that's what he means by saying tat paraha. You understand? That should be your first priority. Which one? Attaining the self. See, you say that I completely believe in this. What? The knowledge that is given in Vedanta. What is that? That you are Atma, Brahman, and not this individual, not this body, mind, intellect complex. But today, is that your knowledge? Is that your identification? We are still identified with the body, mind, and intellect. So knowing that I am Atma, Brahman, is not going to make me free from my worries and anxieties. Though I have informed that I am Atma, Brahman, but still, since my identification is with the body, mind, and intellect, I am still going to be worried as before, as anxious as before. Isn't it? I am still going to remain as a samsari. So, therefore, once I get that knowledge, if I had Shraddha in it, then I will have Tatparaha. That is my supreme goal. I am now having a purpose in life. Now my mind is given a direction. You understand? Now, no more running after the world as an end in itself is my purpose. Now, everything will be directed towards that. That is called Tatparaha. So, Tatparaha, and then you will with total Shraddha apply yourself in it fully. Only then can you bring the transformation. Otherwise, no. So people say, I've been listening to Gita, I've been teaching Gita, right, for so many years. But if that Shraddha is not there, if that is not Tatparaha for you, and then if you're not bringing the paradigm shift and all your contacts at the sense level and everything is directed towards that, whatever you contact and not contact, it is always keeping that goal in mind. Then only you are applying yourself fully in it. Isn't it? So in the 9th chapter, he will say, the very important shloka there in 22nd shloka of chapter 9, he says, Ananya Chinta. Chinta means thought. Anya Chinta means other thought. Ananya Chinta means no other thought. That is what he is saying here in these three. Shraddha, Tatparaha, and Samyatendriya. These three are important. Then we have a direction given to our life. The purpose is to get back to the self. So he says, such a person attains knowledge. Having attained knowledge, he erelong gains supreme peace. So he is not thereafter only going to have just information. He will convert that information into wisdom. And once that wisdom comes, instantly, he says, that very moment you attain supreme peace. The peace that you will get as a result of your wisdom, as a result of your transformation, will be permanent because it is beyond the realm of limitations. It's not a peace that you get by running after the object that you like and achieve that object. That will be temporary. You understand? Because the base is still I am limited. Now here what happens is it destroys that very foundation, a wrong foundation, that I am limited. And that is gone. Then you realize that I am unlimited. I am paripurna, complete. then the peace that is got out of such a knowledge is also permanent, and therefore he calls it as supreme peace. So he who has Shraddha, faith, is devoted, who has subdued the senses, attains knowledge. Otherwise, they don't. It doesn't matter how long, right? Once this conviction and consistency is there, keeping that as the highest goal, once that comes, that's what we call as mumukshatva. Tatparaha means mumukshatva, ardent desire to liberate. It's not enough for me to just have this as an information. I must experience it. See, X amount of joy we get when we watch the movie, whatever movie it may be, whatever genre it may be. But just think about the actors. They are playing the role. You understand? They are also experiencing certain joy while playing the role. We are not playing the role. We are observing, watching. They are playing the role. They are in it. So they are actually going through what do you call the joy inherently, not externally. We are watching and getting excited because the experience is at the external level. For them it is internal. So like that he says, unless and until you plunge and experience that I am Brahman, this peace is not going to be permanent, whatever you get. Next shloka, 40.
Ajñascha shraddadhanascha samshayatma vinashyati nayam lokosti na paraha na sukham samshayatmanah.
Here he says, there he said 3 disciplines will help you to gain that knowledge. Here he says, if you have these 3, you will get ruined. What are those 3? He says, if you are ajñah, means ignorant, and without shraddha, ashraddha, shraddha means faith, ashraddha means no faith. So he says, the ignorant, devoid of shraddha, and constantly doubting self, samshayatmana, constantly indecisive, right? Because the fellow who is indecisive is not going to apply, is not going to function. So he says, these 3, if you have ignorance and no shraddha and indecisiveness, doubt, there is neither this world nor the other future, nor happiness for the doubting self. You are not going to achieve anything in this world, nor are you going to achieve anything in future. Nothing in present, nothing in future. And you are not going to be happy at all because of your indecisiveness. So he says, the ignorant. See, Jnana means one who knows. Ajñaha means one who does not know, ignorant. Now, it's very interesting. Ajñaha, when he says he does not know, he doesn't know the self, but he is understanding himself wrongly as a result of that. What is it? That I am this individual, this BMI complex, body, mind, intellect complex. So Ajñaha also has some knowledge. What is that knowledge? Wrong knowledge. That I am Anju. You understand? That I am Lakshmi Narayan. This is Ajñaha. And he has no faith in what the scriptures are saying, what the Guru is saying, that you are not Anju, you are Brahman. You are not whale, you are ocean, or you are water. So What is the knowledge he is having? I am wave, which is ajna, which is ignorance. And what is that he is hearing from the Guru? You are ocean, you are water, you are Brahman. And he has no Shraddha in that. He has no Shraddha in that. Okay, theek hai, they are saying, from their point of view, maybe, So doubting fellow, indecisive fellow, who doesn't have that deep conviction, what will he do? He will not put himself into action in that direction. So, such a fellow is going to continue identifying himself as limited individual. And as a result, he'll continue having agitation in the present and in the future. His life is completely ruined. So, as long as we understand ourselves to be this limited individual, we cannot escape from the affectations. We cannot escape. That's why he says, this doubting self is ruined. Samshaya Atma. You need to have Dhrida Nishchayam. If you have Samshayam, it's okay. In the beginning, you will have Samshayam. See, first when we are ignorant, and you will be having the doubt, right? And after that, it should become conviction. Then you will apply yourself to gain that knowledge. Then you will apply yourself to convert that knowledge into wisdom. This is how we can grow. Ignorance, doubt, conviction, consistent application, gaining knowledge, until we transform that into wisdom. But if that conviction itself is not there, I'm doubting, all this is good to talk, it's okay. What if it is not true? I'll waste all my life. In fact, a question Arjuna asks in the 6th chapter. It's called Yoga Bhrashta. What he's saying is, see, I'm now part of a society that is conditioned. And everybody in the society is now, in their head, they're clear that I am this XYZ. And therefore, we are all living in a particular way. So I'm part of that cloud. You understand? I'm part of that group. Now, if a little cloud, little portion of cloud separates itself from that total cloud, Arjuna's question is, will not get washed away by the wind. So now, I am not like others. Okay. Others are all thinking, I am Sujata, I am Anju, I am Nishit, etc., etc. Right? Now, suddenly, you are hearing Vedanta. Guru is saying, you are Brahman. And getting doubt. Would this be real? What they are saying? What if it's true? Should I try? Then the fear comes, because I am now separating myself from the total. So Arjuna is asking, what if I don't realize? What if I don't get transformed? I would have lost my life. I would have lost my company. Because of this, I didn't have so much time for my partying and all like others. So I would have lost those enjoyments also. And here also I have not brought about the transformation. This is the indecisiveness. This is the fear. Isn't it? Isn't this practical? This is what happens to all of us. That's why out of those people who is teaching and listening, and all people who are involved in Vedanta and all that, higher wisdom, very rarely 1% really has Shraddha. Out of those who have Shraddha, 1% attains it. It's the difficulty. So Arjuna is asking, like a rent cloud, will I not get washed away? What happens? Sri Krishna says, no, nothing will happen. Because he says, by chance I die without realizing. I wasted my life here not enjoying like other people. Neither did I realize the self. What is this? For which Sri Krishna says, nothing goes waste. Nahi kalyana krit kaschit Durgatim tata gacchati. Nothing goes waste. You will continue from where you left. This is the answer he gives there. We'll see that when we get there. But I'm connecting that here because this is the reason why we keep one leg here, one leg there. One leg here, one leg there. And when we do like this, like then we are not in it totally also. See, these fellows are all involved. They are all involved in this party. You will be sitting there and you won't be enjoying. Nor are you going to Gita class and then saying, this is my tatpara, and fully giving yourself into it. You are neither here nor there. One fellow wrote a letter to Swamiji, it seems, after visiting the ashram and going back from US or somewhere. He wrote saying, I was a happy man until I met you. Because now this has come. I am not this, I am that. Now, because of that, I am not able to be happy here also. So this situation comes, and it's a very tough thing. It's not easy. It's not easy. Because the fear of failure comes. At least here, there is something that I am enjoying. So this is where, it requires that tremendous conviction, the depth. In the third chapter, he said, Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat swanushthitat swadharme nidanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaha. He says, better is swadharma than paradharma. And he says, better to die in swadharma than excel in paradharma. It is, when you hear it's very inspiring, you understand and all that. But when it comes to practically applying, you will be alienated. Please understand. Rather, you are alienating yourself. Because everybody else is very comfortable in their own way of functioning. Now, because of this, you are alienating yourself. You now become minority or probably alone. You understand? So it's not going to be as comforting as before, like so many other people are there. So now you have to be more alert, put in your efforts and move in that direction. It's very difficult, but there is no other choice. If you really want to be happy, if you really want to be blissful throughout, then taking that plunge is necessary. That's why he says, Ajnaha, Ashraddhaha, and then Asamshaya. These three are deadly, he says. They ruin your life. There is neither this world nor the other. At least that fellow would have done something and booked his seat in heaven. You didn't do that also. Neither did you book your seat in the party there, nor did you do something and book your seat in the heaven. Right? And you have completely lost your life because you have not also transformed yourself and achieved the Atma. So it's a total, colossal loss. Next, 41.
Yoga samnyasta karmanam jnana samchinna samshayam atmavantam na karmani nibadhnamti dhananjaya.
He who has renounced actions by yoga, whose doubts are rent asunder by knowledge, who is poised in the self, actions do not bind him, O Dhananjaya. So in this shloka, he is saying the real effect of that knowledge is that you become free from bondage. You become totally liberated. And he is saying, by addressing Arjuna as Dhananjaya, winner of wealth, he is subtly indicating that this is the real wealth you need to achieve. All other wealth at the external level, material, at the physical, emotional, intellectual level, they are not real wealth. This is the only wealth that is going to be with you, which never gets lost. All other wealth doesn't come with you when you give up this body. But this is the only thing that will be with you always. So this is the real wealth. Win that wealth, Arjuna. Arjuna was called as Dhananjaya, winner of wealth. He conquered many kingdoms, annexed many kingdoms, brought wealth to his country. So therefore he was called as Dhananjaya. All this you do throughout your life, all of us. But not knowing yourself. What is the use? Therefore he says, this is the real wealth. This is what you need to gain. And then, see, you connect the previous shloka and this shloka before going to these other things that he mentions in this shloka. I was talking about that Samshaya Atma, and I was saying, I compared it with that rent cloud that is separated, that fear, that fear stops us from losing the false and experiencing the truth. Because false always takes the comfort in the group. You understand? So there is this fear. What will happen? Fear of unknown. I don't know if you saw that movie, Jim Carrey's movie, Truman Show. Truman Show. The character he plays, he is born in that huge set that they have erected. It's a huge set. You understand? Maybe 10 times bigger than Delhi. You understand? As good as a country. They set up a set. And then all of them are characters playing in that drama. Except this fellow is born there. So he is thinking this person as his neighbor, that person as his uncle, aunt, father, mother, etc. That's how he's growing up. And this is being live telecast 24/7. So people are all watching this, they're hooked onto this. Because they want to know, when will this fellow understand that it is a drama and not real? Once he realizes that it is drama and real, the serial is over. The series is over. Do you get it? So it's going on. And this fellow grows up like that. He understands that they're all his relatives, friends, and this and that. And something happens in between. He gets a doubt. Could this all be fake? Right? So he wants to go to the end of it. To break open that and understand that it is a set and not real. So he goes to the end, and in the end there is ocean. They've made that, that false ocean, fake ocean, like you see in this water parks, theme parks. So once he goes there, he has fear that he may get drowned. But he says something, he tells to himself and says, doesn't matter, I'll go. Now, what do? The director says, switch on the whole thing, create big waves. You understand? So huge waves they create, and he gets scared, he comes back. And the series continues. And then in the final end of the movie, he takes courage and says, doesn't matter even if I die. And he goes, he tears open the set and comes out. So that's exactly the situation here. It requires tremendous courage. Till then, this doubting will be there. I would have lost this people also, I would have lost that people also. It's not easy. It's a rebel actually. Only if you have the courage of a rebel can you really achieve this. That's what he's saying. Otherwise, it's all very nice music to ears when you hear. And continue the way we have been living. But unless you become a rebel, and at whatever cost, even at the cost of you being called as a mad fellow, you understand? If you give into that totally, then only you can achieve. So he says, such a person who's achieved it through that, he says, he becomes completely free thereafter from the bondage of the actions he's doing. Thereafter, the actions don't bind him. Thereafter he is going to act. But he is not acting to find happiness, he is acting out of happiness. There's a difference. So those actions do not bind him. He says, why? Because earlier he thought he's that limited individual. He thought that he's the doer. Now he has got the knowledge, understands that he is not the doer. So therefore he doesn't do. It is not doing, it is being. He's got that knowledge now. He's become that. Are you with me? So as long as you think you are limited, you'll have to do something to find happiness. But when you gain the knowledge and understand that you are that happiness, and there is nothing to be done to achieve that happiness, right? Out of that happiness, your nature manifests your action as actions. Such actions cannot bind you. So actions that is done with the doership binds you. Because with doership there is enjoyership. We've studied this before. That is the crux of this chapter. If you remember, I told you verse 18 of this chapter. Seeing action in inaction, inaction in action. Get back to that shloka. So, he clearly understands. So when he says, he who has renounced actions by yoga, what does it mean? It is not that he has renounced doing action. He has renounced as a result of him uniting with that knowledge, as a result of he getting transformed as Atma, meaning realizing that he is Atma. He doesn't consider himself as doer anymore. And without considering himself as doer, he continues doing action. That is called renouncing actions. Please understand this. Otherwise you will misunderstand and think that giving up action. No. It is not, renounced actions does not mean giving up action. Renounced action means rising above the notion that I am the doer. I am not the doer. I am the Atma. In my mere presence, everything functions. So in my presence, like sun above, the presence of the sun, the whole world starts getting energized and starts acting. The good, bad, ugly, everything done by everybody in this world, they get energy from the sun. But sun is not responsible for it. Are you with me? So in the presence of the sun, the whole world bristles into activity. Similarly, in the presence of the Atma within, the sun within, the body, mind, intellect acts. And since he is not considering himself as the ego, the individual, he understood that he is the indivisible reality. There is no kartrutva, doership. Therefore, there is no bondage. Whatever may be the results accruing from such an action doesn't affect him. See, a peacock doesn't open up the feather and dance to get your appreciation. Isn't it? We see through this glasses, beautiful rain is coming now, right? So, if you go into the nature and see, maybe some peacock is dancing somewhere. Okay, beautifully opening up the feather and dancing. Is the peacock dancing to get our appreciation? Out of joy, he simply opens up the feather and dances. When are we going to act like that in the world? All the time we have something to be achieved through that. Because that achievement is what is going to bring our self-worth. That appreciation is what is determining our self-worth. Are you with me? So therefore, if that appreciation is not there, what happens? What happens? We get totally dejected. If that appreciation is there, we get excited and we want that appreciation to be always there. So we put in more pressure upon ourselves. That is called bondage. So it's not the action that is binding you. It's the doership in the action that is binding you. Do you get it? So, this is what he says. Once you realize the self through Shraddha, Tatparaha, Samyatendriyaha, that he mentioned in verse 39, you become a realized soul. And once you become a realized soul, what happens? Nothing happens. Thereafter, you begin to live your life totally. Thereafter, you express your actions totally with no expectation of somebody's appreciation. That is not going to determine your self-worth. Now you understood your inner worth. That is real wealth. That is real confidence. So thereafter, even if your empire collapses, you'll be able to rebuild your empire. Or rebuilding doesn't matter. It'll be fun. That's it. But you will not get upset. Arey yaar, it is collapsed. I have to rebuild again. I hope I'll be alive till I rebuild. Nothing. The joy comes in just going about expressing yourself. That's what he says. So, he who has renounced actions by yoga, meaning who has renounced the kartrutva bhav, doership, whose doubts are rent asunder by the knowledge. It is only this knowledge of the Atma, when you get established, removes this doubt totally and you realize the self. Such a person is poised in the self. He says, this is also very interesting. He says, Atmavantam means he is poised in the self. We are all not poised in the self. We are all poised in something else. That's why Swami Ramtita says, your only obligation in life is to be self-poised, self-pleased, and cheerful. We are exactly opposite. We have invested in the world outside. And when things go fine, we are okay. When things go wrong there, we cannot be happy anymore. We are not self-poised. This is the word he is using. Atmavantam. Being established in the self. There is no dependence on the external world. Like a bird that is perched on the branch of a tree. Now, a human being is also sitting there. And there's a wild animal sitting below the tree, waiting for you to come down so that you can become the meal. Okay. On the same branch, there's a bird perched, sitting. And due to your weight, the branch is bending. And if the branch breaks, very close to the tree, a river is flowing, you will either fall on the land where the wild animal is there, or you may fall into the river where a crocodile is waiting. Okay. Now what is the situation of the human being? And what is the situation of the bird? Bird is cool. Why? Bird has wings. Right? A bird that is perched on the branch is not dependent on the branch. Whereas a human being is completely dependent. You'll be chanting Hanuman Chalisa. Please make sure that this branch should not break. You understand? Total dependence. Here he is saying, no, he's like that bird, self-poised. You understand? Swami Ramtita wrote a few words and entered the Ganges. He was living on the banks of Ganges and every day he used to swim. One day the current was very high, but he said, doesn't matter, I'll swim. Before that he wrote, "O death, if you wish to take this body, please take. I have so many other bodies through which I can function." Something like that he wrote and he plunged into the water. It was washed away. So, I'm not saying he didn't commit suicide, please understand. I'm not suggesting that way. So, we need to understand the spirit here. The point is, in everything there is the total dependence at the body level, at the mind level, at the intellect level. A person who is invested in the world, invested in this body, invested in the possessions, invested in the people, invested in the opinions of the people, not in the self. Are you with me? How can that person be happy? He is constantly bound, no? Supposing they say, no, we are withdrawing. He gets agitated. No, we continue supporting. He is happy. So, his control, his remote is there. In this fellow's case, his remote is with himself. That's what he says. Atmavantam. And he says, such a person, na karmani nibattanti dhananjaya. O Arjuna, such a person is not bound by actions. His actions do not taint him. His actions do not bind him. Whatever may be the consequence. People appreciate it, fine. Did not appreciate, no problem. He's not performing for others. He is happily expressing his nature. There's a difference, no? See, one is performing for something that he wants through that performance. Other is performing for others' appreciation. Here he is not doing any of them. Neither is he acting to get something out of it, nor is he doing to please others. Are you with me? He is doing because that is his nature. Thereafter, a Mahatma starts living like that, totally. Because remember this, in the world, whatever you do, there will be people finding fault with it and criticizing. So there is no point. That's why he says, as early as possible, put in the effort and find this self-worth. Without this self-worth, even if you are sitting on a throne, you won't be comfortable. Indra is sitting in the throne in heaven. Is he comfortable? Anybody sitting and doing meditation, he'll be agitated. Because the fellow starts gaining control over his mind through meditation, he will become the next Indra. He will be thrown out. So what does he do? He has 4 astras. Tilotama, Ramba, Menaka, Urvashi. He'll send one of them. If possible, maybe 4. If not, if one doesn't work, maybe 2 or 3, 4 he'll send to distract them. He's sitting on the throne, but he's not happy because he's dependent on the throne. Are you with me? So it doesn't matter where you are sitting, but if you are only independent and dependent on yourself, not on the outside factor, it doesn't matter whether it's a throne or anything, you will continue to be happy. That is real joy. See, in the Mahabharata, after conquering the Kauravas, Yudhishthira was coronated as the king. He was sitting, but he was not happy. He said, after all this conquest also, I'm not happy. So what is really to be achieved that will bring me that happiness? He asked that question to Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna, I don't know what happened. He must have been tired of talking to Arjuna on the battlefield or what. So he said, let's go to Bhishma. Rather than me telling, Bhishma has lived 125 years. We'll ask him. He's lived his complete life. We'll ask him. He's on the bed of arrows. We'll ask him what he thinks is worthy of achieving. So he says, okay, let's go there. They go there and he's asking, Kimekam daivatam loke kimvapyekam parayanam stvantakam pamarchanta prapnuyurmana vashubam ko dharma sarva dharmanam bhavata paramomatah. These are the questions Yudhishthira is asking. And Bhishma gives 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. Vishwam Vishnurva Shatkaro Bhuta Bhavya Bhavat Prabhu. This is Vishnu Sahasranama. You understand? You must have heard Vishnu Sahasranama, very popular and sung by MS Amma also, MS Subbalakshmi Amma. Everybody hears, but in beginning it comes Kime Kamdaiva Tamloke Kimva Pyekam Parayanam Stvantakam Kabarchanta Prapnu Yurmanava Shubham Kodharma Sarva Dharmanam Bhavata Paramomata. In other words, what he is asking is, what worshipping which nothing remains to be worshipped? What attaining which nothing else remains to be achieved? What knowing which nothing remains to be known? Like this, basically is asking this only. Unless and until you really understand your self-worth, you will be mortgaging yourself depending upon the external objects and beings. And as long as you have invested in the external objects and beings, you are going to be tossed by the changes, the ups and downs, heat and cold, pleasure and pain, joy and sorrow, honor, dishonor, censure, praise. All this will be constantly frightening. Your actions will be bound. You will not be able to freely function. Oh Dhananjaya, therefore gain this wealth. Is going to emphasize that in the next shloka, last shloka.
तस्मादज्ञानसम्भूतं हृत्स्थं ज्ञानासितात्मनः चित्वैनं संशयं योगम् आतिष्ठोत्तिष्ठ भारत.
Tasmat means therefore. You'll see this in the Gita in very many places. Sri Krishna mentioning this tasmat, tasmat, tasmat. After giving logical explanation, he finally comes to the conclusion. He says, tasmat, therefore, cutting us under the sword of knowledge, with the sword of knowledge. This ignorance born doubt of the self. This ignorance born doubt of the self should be cut with the sword of knowledge. Viveka, Viveka Shakti, inquiry. Dwelling in your heart, in your core. Which is dwelling in the core? The divinity, the pure consciousness. Be established in yoga. Get united with that self. Arise, O Bharata. Wake up. Enough of this. Wake up. Wake up doesn't mean they're asking you to come from, be in this waking state. For them, being in this waking state itself is also another dream. Wake up from this dream. Wake up from this illusion. For that, what do you have to do? You have to use the power of inquiry, the sword of knowledge. You understand? With the Shraddha. See, Shraddha without inquiry, inquiry without Shraddha will not work. Are you with me? So therefore he says, with the Shraddha, you have to inquire. Cutting asunder with the sword of knowledge, this ignorance born doubt of the self. This ignorance born doubt of the self means what? Because of the doubt, you are thinking yourself to be this individual, and as a result of that, attachment comes. As a result of that attachment, your suffering comes. So the only way you can redeem yourself is by cutting this ignorance through the saw of knowledge. With the help of this saw called the knowledge, inquiry with the Shraddha. Ready to lose. See, there is another poem by Robert Browning. It's called Grammarian's Funeral. It's a very big poem. In that, there are a few lines. He says, he talks about a grammarian who lived a very high, lofty life, pursuing a certain high goal. But before he could really get to that goal, he died. So his disciple is discussing if he should be buried in the valley amongst people or should be buried in the top of the mountain. Because he was a different person. You understand? So, in that poem, what he's trying to say is, even if you haven't achieved your goal, at least you lived your life pursuing your life. Here you are acting somebody else's dream. You are acting, performing for somebody else's sake. Here, even if you didn't achieve, you lived your life. There, even if you seemingly achieved many things, you were living others' life. Which is better? You understand? So that's the theme. This whole thing in Vedanta is this. Therefore, cut asunder with this sword of knowledge, this ignorance born doubt of the self, imagining yourself to be this individual, and the moment you have that individuality misunderstanding, you would have mortgaged yourself to the society. Because those limited people need groups, isn't it? Those limited, or those who have the sense of limitation, requires group, requires constant validation. Those who are standing on their own truth don't require any validation. See, we have belief that, sun is revolving around the earth. And the fellow who said, "Arey Baba, it is not that way. It is earth revolving around the sun." What happened to him? Do you know what happened to him? He was finished. At that time, he was finished. But just because he is dead, what he said is become false or what? What he said alone is true. Just because you killed him, did you kill the truth? The truth is, earth is revolving around the sun, not the other way around. Are you with me? So therefore he says, this ignorance born doubt of the self should be cut asunder by this knowledge. Otherwise you will not live your life. Then you will be able to see the self within, dwelling in your own core, the heart. Heart means center, heart of the city, we say, no? In that sense, core of your personality. Be established in that. That's the worthy goal pursuing. Arise from this weakness to follow the masses. Develop that courage to follow the truth. Do you understand? So therefore he says, arise, O Bharata, O Arjuna. With that knowledge, you wake up, man. Therefore, cutting us under with the sword of knowledge. So always you must use this sword to cut the ignorance within. That's the problem for our suffering, not the outside world. This understanding has to come. He says, then you will get established in the knowledge, then you will wake up. So he says, arise, wake up, gain that knowledge. That is the advice he gives to Arjuna in the last shloka. So with this we have come to the conclusion of chapter 4. Om Tatsat iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Sambhade Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yogo Nama Chaturdhoyaha. So, you see, what he's saying here is, before and after whenever we start a chapter or whenever we conclude a chapter, we conclude by saying Om, start by saying Om, auspiciously, right? And that is the reality. Om Tat Sat. That is real. And this knowledge given in the Bhagavad Gita is nothing but the ones that is given in the Upanishads. Upanishad knowledge is given in elaboration to Arjuna. So he says, thus in the Upanishads of the glorious Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is nothing but the gist of Upanishads. And what is it talking about? The science of eternal versus ephemeral. Right? So he says, Brahma Vidyaya, Yoga Shastre. It helps you to unite with the Brahman, Atman. And he says, Jnana Karma, Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade. The Samvada, the discussion, conversation between Arjuna and Sri Krishna, in the form of discussion it is given. And in that discussion, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, Yoga of renunciation of action in wisdom. That chapter has ended. Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yogo Nama Chaturdashodhyayaha. The fourth chapter has ended. Swami Chinmandaji says, you have gone through the knowledge, but has the knowledge gone through you? So it has not gone through you. You have to reflect continuously till you make it your own. Till you become that Atmavantam. Till you get self-poised. Till you lose all the dependence on the external factors. So till then we have to continue the study reflection. So with that idea, we have a tradition of chanting shloka number 1 when we conclude. We'll chant shloka number 1 of chapter 4.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavanahamavayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manurikshvakave Bravit. Om
Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.